Hello, and welcome to Real Estate Today. My name is Ed Cox, and my co-host is Maria Babicki. We're both real estate agents here in Simsbury, and we have a great show planned for you today. And I think everybody who's watching sooner or later will remember this show because some advice you might get will be helpful. I think in real estate today, it's not so much that people are buying bigger houses because their families are getting bigger. It's because they are collecting and buying more stuff. So what happens is now you've gotten to the point where the kids have left the house and you have this big house and you don't need it anymore, and you've decided to move to a condominium, or you've decided to move south or just into a smaller house, downsizing, if you will. And now you're trying to decide what to do with everything you have in the house. And there are avenues to try to do, get rid of one piece of furniture, but you have so much stuff and it's so varied, it's going to be complicated and it take a lot of time. Well, I think we have somebody to talk to today who will help us with that. And Maria, would you like to introduce our guest and get the show started?
Sure, I would love to. Our guest today is Aaron Wlochowski of the Dutiful Daughter. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Well, thanks for being here. And let's start with how your business came about and how the name came about.
All right. Well, my mother started the business back in 1970. She was working for a lawyer and he needed help clearing out a house. So she went out, actually her and my father went out to clean out the house, and it started, but originally was under a different name. But we were doing a house in Hartford, and a bunch of us were there. A neighbor came over, said, "Are you one of the relatives?" And my mother said, "No, I'm not." The woman said, "Ooh, only a dutiful daughter would do this job." The name was born. My mother only has sons, but we think the name has gained some traction, and it truly is what we do. Anything that a daughter would do, we will handle for you to help you in a variety of situations.
So how long have you been around?
1970 is when we started. I started, I'm going to say probably when I was about 12. My mother dragged me and my brother to do some of the lifting and stuff. And then I came into the business full-time in 2009. I've always done some work on the sides. We did a lot on nights and weekends, but this is now everything that I do every day.
Okay.
So.
And you did tell us your business has increased eightfold since 2009?
2009 when I came on. My mother did, when the phone rang, great, but I started talking with realtors, retirement communities, lawyers, just to let them know what we did. Not that they were our customers, but that they could recommend us to whom they thought might need our services. And through that, we get a lot of calls coming in, and we've increased eightfold since 2009, and it's gets a little crazy in the summer months, but it's enjoyable.
So I actually was driving down Terry's Plain Road a couple weeks ago, and I actually saw a truck. How big is your staff?
We have, I have 6 people full-time year-round. In the summertime, which is more the busy time, getting ready for the sales market and the real estate, we ramp up to 10 to 12, depending on the volume of business. So it really, I like the 6 staff we have. My mother is the one that usually vets the people. I think she wants to make sure we have good people. We're going to people's homes. There's a lifetime of memories and stuff in there. We want to make sure that people are taken care of the right way. And then we want them to work hard so that we're not standing around. She did fire my son twice when he first started because there's a work ethic and you better do the right thing in the right situation. And now he's come back. I actually, literally last night, one of the guys that's been with me the longest said, "Just want to let you know, Connor's stepping up. He's working hard. He's thinking about things, and we really appreciate when he's on the job." So he learned.
What's kind of interesting, you told us before the show, is that your family actually, you've always been collectors. Each one of the children had a little collection going?
My mother might have forced that on us, but yeah, I collected ceramic dogs. My brother was ceramic horses at first. I collect marbles and matches and you name it. There's been a lot of different things. Poker paraphernalia, 19 vintage bar stuff. So yeah, we all have had collections that have come and gone. The biggest and most interesting one is my father's corkscrew collection. He enjoyed wine, so it was natural for him to collect corkscrews, and he had developed a collection, got in with some people up in Canada, the Canadian Corkscrew Collectors Club, but he had about 4,000 corkscrews, and of different varieties. He ended up selling those, so that they bought their first beach house. So sometimes the collection is very good, and if you sell it at the right time and the market's good, it works out for you. So.
Who would have known?
No, exactly.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I think it depends on what you collect. I have a collection of windsurfers in my backyard, which the only person who'd probably want to own any of those would be a dumpster.
So, why don't we talk about specifically what you do? You say you sell, you donate, and you discard.
Right. That's
Okay.
correct. So usually what happens is I will go out to the house to do a free assessment, just to understand what they're going to be doing and the time frame, and also understand size and scope of what's going to go on. So we'll walk through. Usually I take some pictures for myself in case I have a lot of estimates, just so I can remember exactly what's there. And then I'll provide them with an assessment and say, based on what I saw and what we talked about, here's kind of a game plan of what I think and how we can help you get to your goal of having the house cleared or just decluttered until it sells. So sometimes we can do everything all at once. Sometimes we can do it in small pieces. We can wait till the house sells for certain things. So there's a lot of different pieces and a wide range of the depth of what we will do. It's not always just clearing out the house. There may be some minor repairs that we can help with, some stuff that we can do ourselves. And the whole goal is to ease the burden. Selling a house and moving and all these things are, no matter at what age, is always very stressful. And if I can help in any way, lighten the load, that's what we try to do.
So, in the three categories, you have the sell, donate, and dispose. In sell, if somebody had stuff that they wanted to sell, where do you go to to sell things?
Well, typically what we'll go is inventory everything that we're going to be, because we'll take things from the property, bring it back to our warehouse, and then we'll sell it through our network of buyers, collectors, and auctioneers. So depending on what it is, it goes to specific people. I have a doll lady, I have a book person, my auctioneer in Rhode Island does very well with costume jewelry. Other auctioneers do well with certain types of furniture. So the goal is to maximize revenue and put it into the right hands. Now, I wish I controlled the market, but that's not always the case. So that's our most difficult conversation is, here's the value, market value of what we think is going to happen. And sometimes that's discouraging, and sometimes that's a surprise, depending on the things that they think are valuable. And I can never compete with sentimental value, so it's very hard. But what we try to do is communicate, do the research, let them know what the expectation is going to be, so that there's no real surprises. Just here's what we think. This is good. This is bad, and let them figure out if that's the path they want to go down.
Now, as far as donating, where do you donate?
There's several different places. We donate to a place called the Penny Saver, which is affiliated with Manchester's Hospital. Savers, Goodwill, Salvation Army, a Hand Up, which does stuff for people transitioning from a shelter into their own place. So there's a lot of different places, and usually, we'll again make a list of what's going to be taken away. Once we bring it to the charity, they'll give us a receipt, and then that receipt goes back to the client for their tax purposes.
Oh, that's great.
So, yep, everything we kind of do is for the benefit of the client.
Okay. And then as far as disposing, what about things like, how do you know what's you could dispose of and not? What if you see a bunch of just old photographs tossed around, or financial documents?
Well, we're another set of eyes going through. So anytime there's anything personal, photographs, financial records, if there's jewelry, we'll put that off to the side to make sure the family's had an opportunity to see it. Give advice of, you have taxes going back to the 1930s. You only need 7 years. We can shred this for you if you want. So any pictures, sometimes people say we've gone through them all. We'll still go through them anyways, but that's part of what you're getting, is that sorting of the things, just in case there's something that was overlooked, and we want people to put their eyes on it one more time and make sure that, yes, I have seen that, and I'm glad, that you showed it to me, because if I hadn't seen it and it went, when it's gone, and you want to make sure that they have everything that they want.
And when you talk about disposing things, the one thing that we thought was kind of is another set of eyes looking at this stuff, because you've actually kind of acquired a skill to finding things that may be hidden.
Well, we've seen a lot of different places that people will put things, and when you're moving furniture or items that haven't been moved in a while, it could be a very good hiding place. So, we've been in houses, one of the houses I was in, family had gone through 4 times. We're in the basement, there's 9 empty cans of paint. Usually you'll find 1, 2, but 9 empty cans, scratch mark on the floor. I said to the client, there's probably something back there. Oh, no, we've been through here. Behind there is a metal box, had about $800 in it. So it was somebody's slush fund. But knowing that sometimes that generation that we deal with a lot is putting things in slush funds or the rainy day fund, we've seen it. My grandmother used to put her jewelry in the radiator. So, a few times we found some interesting things and surprised the client who we're working with. So.
One thing you haven't mentioned that you do is buy, and why is that?
We don't want to buy because we think it's a conflict of interest. A lot of times the people that are buying obviously are doing that to make money, and so sometimes they will offer somebody anywhere from 30 to 40% of the value so they can go make the efforts. There's no upside for the client. If something is sold and at an exorbitant amount of money of what they got it for, that buyer's not going to go back to the client and say, hey, I made a lot more money, here's some extra. And we want to do what's best for the client, and that is how we handle it. We were in a house, and there really wasn't much in the house that was sellable, but there was 2 pieces of art that were on the basement stairs. And it's a very specific field, so I had taken some pictures and sent them to my guy, and he said, can't really tell from the pictures, they're probably worth a little bit, but if they're originals, then that's a whole different story. So the brother was from New York. I said, take this down here, do this, and see what happens. If you go here, they're gonna do the right thing and give you so about 10 months later, we got a note saying, thank you very much, the 2 paintings sold for $250,000. So,
wow.
It's, I didn't know that, but at least we're trying to put them in the front of the right people that can help them get the true value.
Now you are licensed, insured, bonded, and you also have a contractor's license.
Right, because sometimes we'll do some of those minor repairs. That could be my father coming out, and my uncle also, he has his contractor's license. But sometimes it might be very minor things. If it's more of a bigger project, we do have some people we'll recommend. But for the most part, it's so that when we're going into a house, people want to make sure that they have some protection if one of my employees falls, knowing that we're fully insured. If anything, one of the things we do take pictures and inventory. If anything's missing, we'll make sure that we make it right. There's being bonded helps, they want assurances of who's coming in, that they're going to do the right thing and have the protection on the other side just in case. Because as careful as we can be, we may damage something that we need to fix. And having the right insurances gives people peace of mind that that's going to happen.
Question, I think people out there who are watching probably have some things in their house and they're wondering. So what I thought we'd kind of go down a list of things and tell us what you think of different things. For example,
okay.
Vinyl records.
Vinyl records are making a comeback. It does depend on the type of music. So, the show tunes, probably not so much, but literally 60s and 70s rock and roll is making a comeback. The purists want the full sound, and the baby boomers, that's their music, so they're buying it. Tom Petty just released an album on vinyl. So these things are changing. We try to keep up with the market, but and I have a record guy that comes in and will tell you, jazz is actually really big because not all the artists were transitioned over to digital. So, you only can get them in vinyl.
Okay, what about wedding gowns?
I have I have a vintage clothing person, so it does depend on the condition and things like that, but we have the avenue where they'll come in and take a look at it and let us know, or we can send them a quick picture and they can say that style is selling or not, and we can provide that feedback to the client. So having those resources and doing that legwork is what we want to do so that our clients don't have to.
Okay, in our house, every member of my family, we own Kindles, but we probably have 2,000 books in our house, in bookcases that I don't think we've touched. I would think between the family, we've probably read almost everything in them. But what about books?
Books depends on the subject. You know, your textbooks you can probably put into the dumpster. Cookbooks sell, art books sell, the different subject matter, some historical books. We also get people that want, because they have bookshelves in their house, red bound books, green, just for decorative purposes. So green, blue, and red are the three big colors. So they don't care what the subject is, it just needs to look nice on the shelf. So we have that, and then we'll do a lot of donating, again, with, you know, making sure that the less we throw away, the better off it is. And being a very disposable society,
Right.
we go into the landfill and it seems like it's getting taller, wider, and you know, you try to avoid that. But
I thought I just had before I asked you about old electronic stuff, would be turntables. I would think that a turntable,
yes, not those large console stereos that, you know.
We used to call them hi-fis.
Right, exactly, but those, you know, they're, you know, some people, if they're, there's probably the longer ones are probably 6 or 7 feet, but there's shorter ones. People they want those because they're popping out the old one and putting in, you know, the super duper new one, and it's still a nice piece of furniture. So they are, you know, retrofitting them with the new turntable. So.
But like, so when in old electronics, I mean, I would think that
Electronics and technology change so quickly that sometimes it's even tough to donate. So, you know, some of that does go. There is a recycling program that the commercial landfill that we go to, we have to take that out and it goes into like a green recycling. But, you know, it's really hard to sell. If you give me those big heavy TVs, my guys don't like lifting them, and they're really, you know, hard to sell and sometimes even hard to donate.
Right.
So.
Okay.
How about tools and yard equipment?
The yard equipment is easy to sell, and sometimes, you know, dealing with realtors, maybe who the buyer is, you might want to sell it to the people buying the house, but we can sell those. I also have a tool guy. He has, the only problem there is the tools that he sells, he does it in an auction, and it's 4 times a year. So we let the client know that it just may be time. As long as we have your address, as soon as that happens, you know we have it. The inventory list is signed off on. Once it sells, we're going to get you an inventory list, and the account is going to be there. But yeah, tools are interesting because sometimes you have old tools that are good to sell, useful tools, and then you have the in-between of old but not old enough and not in great condition. So, you know.
The ones you buy at 3 o'clock in the morning, the garden weasel and things like that, you probably don't have in market.
Yeah, the garden weasel, you know. But for yard purposes, you know, a lot of times we'll group things together to try to make, you know, one individual item might not sell for a significant amount, but if we put 4 or 5 things together in a group, it'll sell for the client.
Okay. What about what's hot right now and what's not?
Well, what's not is just general furniture. That market is slowed down, and probably because the younger generation is buying new, going to IKEA. They're just not buying the good, solid furniture at the prices that they used to. They still sell. It's just, you know, I have oak in my house, and being in New England, we all like the oak look. Everybody has oak. They kept it. Now there's a huge supply of it being put into the market. So I can probably get all the things in my house for 10 to 20 cents on the dollar of what I paid, and I thought I got a good deal. But Danish modern is very popular. There's certain styles are still very popular, but that Danish modern is actually really, really doing very well. And mid-century modern is doing decent. Some of the other things, the smalls, the things that people tend to say, oh, there's nothing there. When we group them together, sometimes they can be more valuable than the furniture that people seem to hold on to. Paper is an interesting thing. It can be very valuable depending on what it is, and it's usually the first thing people throw away. So
Paper in the form of letters or postcards?
Postcards, letters, just things that might have some historical significance.
Right.
You know, old postcards, you know, we've sold, you know, a small box for $150 for clients that they were written on, you know, but people like to put those behind. It's easy to resell them because people can put them behind pressed glass and say, hey, that looks good on the wall. So those are some things right now that I would say are popular, and obviously there's some seasonal stuff. You know, we're in the middle of summer and people have, you know, cottages and second houses, so white wicker sells now. If you gave it to me in December, I might have a tough time selling it. So timing is everything in a lot of different avenues in life, and it's the same thing here, and that market will change. You know, we used to sell a lot of the industrial, so iron workbenches and stuff, and last year, May it was hot, September it wasn't. So trying to keep up with everything is what we like to do for our clients, and we'll go to Brimfield and we'll go to just to see what's selling. And you know,
I was just thinking, you know, like even in, you know, dishes and pots and pans, so there's probably some that are
pattern, you know, who made it, but it's not as significant as it once was. You know, I think, you know, I have a 21-year-old daughter. I think her china is going to be chinette. You know, they're just you know, formal dining rooms aren't really what's happening with. So I have a few houses have the china closet, the side server, the dining room table, and chairs. People only want to buy the dining room table and chairs, so they're breaking up the set because they don't have the big formal dining rooms anymore. You know, with kids' activities and everything, I don't think people are sitting down at dinner as often as they used to. They're getting something on the run or things of that nature. So those trends dictate what's being sold.
Well, now I'm thinking, you know, so, you know, some houses, instead of a dining room, they put a home office in. So does desks and home office type stuff with that?
Good solid desk is hard for me to sell because they're going to build it, you know, the ones where you buy in a box, you put it together and it looks great in that spot, and you know, when you go to move it, it's not well made, it's not, you know, tongue and groove, and it's not, you know, it's put together. So, but that's what they want because it's functional.
Okay.
Do you get a lot of hoarders?
I don't get a lot of hoarders, but we do deal with them, and you know, that is sometimes more of a consultative process. So Marcia, who works for me, will be one-on-one to help them make those determinations of this pile has to go, and in that pile it could be the same, sell, donate, and you know, keep this. And a lot of times what you find is people have 4, 5, 6, 10 of one thing, and they only need one. So we just have to get 9 things out of there to help them so that, you know, they have a very still functioning household, and they have some degree of, okay, the comfort level of this is okay. Because that's usually what it is what if that one breaks, then I don't have another one. And so sometimes getting, you know, as I like to say, Marcia is extremely well at nudging people in the right direction, and she does a great job for us. So.
Oh, Ed has a question for you. His son is going off to college.
Right. I actually, my son is going to have his first apartment, and basically, I think we have nothing. So we aren't even sure exactly what he has for an apartment, but would somebody be able to contact you through that? Yeah,
we have a warehouse. It's not a true retail environment. We have a warehouse, so there's a lot of stuff that comes in, and you know, a lot of times if people let me know what they want, or I have some email distributions, they can say, here's my wish list. So I have this wall of wish lists, and you know, I have a girl that last year, give me a very, you know, dear Mr. Wlochowski, I'm looking for a dresser and a, you know, full-length mirror. And then she said, and at least a 42-inch flat-screen TV. Usually we don't get those, but all the other functional stuff that's, you know, good functional stuff, and what I like to say, especially if they're going to college, they're not going to break it. They can jump up and down on it. It's well made. You know, at the end of the year, you might not want it back because depending, but it's definitely, and that's time of year is perfect for us, with a lot of stuff coming out of houses and some of it being newer, not necessarily antique,
Right.
that's a great avenue for us to, you know.
Well, we're
sell
about to
things.
be doing that, so I probably will be shooting you an email because we need
Yeah.
to do it in the next.
Email or phone call and we'll get you on the wish list.
Okay, we picked up a chair from somebody and it's been in the garage, and I wouldn't think that it belongs anywhere but in a dumpster. So that's what we've collected so far.
All right.
So now, how do you get paid?
Typically, we do a flat fee for our services, and that's due to most of what we're doing is more labor intensive. So not only are we taking the stuff that sells, but we're handling the removal of the items to be donated, the transportation to donation, the removal items that need to be disposed of. So we're that labor force that does the heavy lifting. Sometimes I'll go into a house and they just want me to sell 5 items. We'll do that on a commission basis. So it's a split commission. The client always gets the larger portion, and we'll figure out, you know, that. But so there's, most of it is the fee based, and that can range from anywhere, you know, we have a $225 minimum on up, because each house, depending on size and scope, could be, I could be in a house that's, you know, 2,500 square feet for half a day, and I can be in that same size house with a lot more stuff in there for 3 days. So do I need 2 staff, 4 staff, 5 staff? Do I need 1 dumpster, 10 dumpsters, no dumpsters? All those things come in, and what we always do is when I do that initial assessment is we go, here's everything we're going to do, and we put it in writing, and here's what we expect, you know, and so that the client knows that, okay, dumpster is this, they're going to be here for 3 days, and they're going to do all these things, and it spells out that, you know, when we charge that fee, that client's going to get 100% of the revenue coming back to them, because we've already figured in some of that labor to sell. So.
And do you take credit cards?
We do. We do take credit cards, and we have the Square, you know, so that they can do it right on site, or they can call into the office and do that.
Okay. And if you have an estate situation, how long does it usually take to sell these items?
Typically, with most of our sales cycle is anywhere from 3 to 8 weeks, unless it's something very unique, whether it's a large piece of furniture or something that is not a everyday item.
Right.
That may take longer, but usually we're communicating back to the client saying, just want to let you know this might take longer. And that's, I think, critical, is when they want the comfort level and peace of mind, it's the communication back and forth.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. It was really informative, and I'm sure our viewers will be giving you a call.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us, and we'll see you next time on Real Estate Today.
Funding for Simsbury Community Television is provided in part by contributions from viewers like you. Thank you.